The Zelther scouting ship floated near a dark and dead star. No light came from the dying sun. No energy reached their sensors. But in that darkness, something massive waited. A giant warship, black as shadow, rested in orbit, silent, cold, and ancient. The aliens called it the Silent Warship because it looked like a temple built for war. And yet, it gave no signal, no sign of life. It was too quiet, too perfect, as if it waited for someone to wake it up. Captain Vrak stood at the front of the control room, staring at the image on the screen. His second-in-command, Lorv, spoke with a shaking voice. "Sir, scans say it's human tech, but mixed with something we've never seen before." Vrak narrowed his eyes, his blue skin twitching with unease. "Then we dock," he said. Everyone in the room looked at him in shock. "But Captain, the legends," Lorv started. "I don't believe in ghost stories," Vrak cut him off. "Humanity vanished centuries ago, and this ship is dead." Their ship moved closer, docking arms reaching out like fingers touching a god. The moment they made contact, a deep hum echoed. Through the hull, it was faint, like a breath from a sleeping beast. But no one said anything. They entered the warship through an open hatch. No lights turned on. No systems welcomed them. The halls were massive, made for something taller, heavier, more powerful than the Zelther. Everything was still clean, untouched by time. The air was breathable, yet filled with the scent of old metal and something unnameable. Fear. As the team moved deeper, they saw human writing on the walls. But some letters didn't match Earth's last known languages. They passed strange machines, tubes filled with unknown liquid, and weapons they couldn't understand. Lorv touched one of the machines and flinched. "It's warm," he whispered. "But there's no power source," another said. Captain Vrak touched the wall and closed his eyes. "The ship is not dead," he said. "It's sleeping." They reached what looked like the central command chamber. The ceiling was tall, with a giant throne-like seat in the middle. Around it were glowing lines, like veins running through the ship. One of the engineers stepped forward and pulled out his scanner. He blinked, confused. "There's a power source deeper inside the ship," he said. "Big, alive, but locked." Before Vrak could speak, the wall behind the throne lit up. A large screen showed a static image, then shifted. It showed human soldiers in heavy armor, standing in silence. The image moved, and one soldier stepped forward. He spoke, but no sound came, only text below his face. "If you are reading this, then the warship has been entered by non-human hands. Turn back or be judged." Silence filled the chamber. Then the lights went red, all of them, one by one. Like eyes opening, the floor vibrated slightly, and that deep hum returned. Stronger this time, Lorv shouted. "We triggered something." Vrak raised his hand to keep them calm. "This is just an old warning," he said. But his voice wasn't firm anymore. Suddenly, a panel near the throne opened, revealing a black sphere floating in the air. It began to pulse, scanning each alien face. When it stopped on Vrak, it glowed bright red. Then the doors slammed shut, locking them in. "Something's wrong." An alien screamed. The screen flickered again, showing strange symbols then. A countdown. "Captain, we need to leave," Lorv said, panic in his voice. Vrak stared at the countdown and then at the throne. He walked up the steps, drawn by some unknown force. As he touched the armrest, the ship vibrated violently, and a voice not from the walls, not from a speaker, but from the ship itself whispered in his mind, "You are not human. You are not worthy." His hand burned with a mark, glowing in the same red as the screen. He stumbled back, clutching his arm. The ship's systems began to breathe. Vents hissed, lights pulsed, and something deep below started turning, like a heart made of machines. The aliens realized too late. This wasn't just a dead ship, it was a weapon built by humans. A weapon that waited. And now it was waking up. Asterisk. The sound returned, louder this time. It was not a siren, not a machine. It was a whisper, cold and hollow. It came from the walls, from the floor, from the air itself. The Zelther crew froze in place, their weapons drawn, their eyes wide. They had entered the silent warship. Thinking it was dead, now they understood. The ship was alive and watching them. Captain Vrak gritted his teeth, staring at the countdown on the screen. It had stopped at 0:01. Frozen, blinking like a warning, the lights had turned blood red, and the floor gave off a low vibration. "Where is that voice coming from?" Lorv asked, his voice shaking. No one answered, because the real question was it even a voice? Or was it something deeper inside their minds? The hallway behind them sealed itself shut. One by one, other doors began to close. The ship was locking them in, guiding them, controlling their path. "Everyone stay calm," Vrak commanded, trying to sound strong. "We move to engineering. Find the core, shut it down." But as they moved forward, the ship moved with them. Lights flicked on ahead, dark behind, as if forcing them to walk a single road. Strange symbols began to appear on the walls, glowing with blue fire. They were human letters, but not like anything from known databases. An engineer named Toril whispered, "This isn't just human language, it's a command code. A warning system." He paused and looked around. "It's judging us." Suddenly, a whisper filled their ears again. This time, they all heard it clearly. A female voice, ancient and full of sorrow, said, "You are inside memory. You are not welcome." Toril dropped to his knees, clutching his head, screaming. His visor cracked, and blood streamed from his nose. Two others rushed to him, but he kept mumbling. She showed me something. Burning skies, broken planets. Her pain." The others looked around in fear. They hadn't just activated a system. They had awakened a mind, a memory of war. In one hallway, they found a room covered in metal vines. In the center stood a statue, a human figure wearing a long coat and helmet. The statue's hands pointed downward, and at its feet were tiny glowing orbs. Lorv reached out to touch one orb, but the moment he did, a shockwave hit them. They were no longer in the hallway. The world around them changed. They stood in the middle of a battlefield. But it wasn't real. It was a projection, a memory. Human ships flew overhead, firing beams of light at an unknown enemy. Cities burned, soldiers screamed, children cried. The entire galaxy seemed to be on fire, and at the center of it all, this ship, the silent warship, leading the charge. Suddenly, a giant alien creature appeared in the memory. It was not from any known race, tall as a tower. Eyes burning with hate, it roared, and 100 human ships exploded. Then a voice rang out from the memory. "Activate final protocol. Humanity cannot fall." The Zelther crew was thrown out of the vision, back into the cold hallway. Everyone fell to the ground, gasping for air. Vrak stood slowly, eyes wide. "That was history," he whispered. "No, that was warning," Lorv said, shaking his head. "This ship was built to stop something. Something even worse than us." As they moved forward again, a new door opened. Inside was a chamber filled with crystal screens and floating shards. The crystals played voices, human and alien, in many languages. They spoke of treaties, betrayals, and something called the final weapon. The silent warship was not just a ship. It was the lock on a cage, and now the lock was breaking. Toril staggered to his feet and pointed at the largest crystal. "It's storing thoughts," he whispered. "This ship isn't just remembering. It's learning again." The walls shimmered, and the female voice returned. "Your minds are weak. Your intentions are unclear. Access denied." Suddenly, gas hissed into the room, and the floor began to shift. Metal claws came from the ground, grabbing at their feet. Vrak shouted, "Weapons ready!" Blasters fired, the crystals shattered, the voices screamed. The ship roared not like metal but like a dying god. The sound pushed into their minds, showing them visions of human sacrifice, destruction, and machines that broke galaxies. They had triggered something too deep. They were not explorers anymore. They were invaders inside a living monument of war, and the warship had just remembered who its enemies were. The claws retreated and the gas faded. But the damage was done. Half of the team was injured. And fear filled the air like smoke. Toril sat in the corner, his eyes wide, mumbling words no one understood. Captain Vrak looked around the shattered crystal chamber. They had walked into the memory of a god, and now the god was awake. The walls pulsed slowly, red to black, like the beat of a heart. Every step echoed too loudly. Every breath felt borrowed. They had tried to enter secrets not meant for them. And now the ship was responding, not with weapons, but with whispers. The kind that crawled under your skin. Lorv pointed to a hallway ahead. Engineering should be that way, he said. But something's changed. The corridor looked twisted now. Same metal, same shape. But the walls had moved. Doors they had passed were gone, replaced by strange panels glowing blue. The ship was not just reacting, it was rebuilding itself, rewriting the maze to trap them deeper. As they reached the core chamber door, they found a strange symbol marked in red. It pulsed slowly, as if breathing. Toril, still trembling, suddenly spoke in a clear voice. That's bloodlock code. Everyone turned to him in surprise. What do you mean? Vrak asked. Toril's voice was calm but cold. This door doesn't open with tools or code. It opens with human DNA. And a sacrifice. A heavy silence filled the hallway. Captain Vrak stepped forward, his sharp blue fingers tracing the glowing red symbol. It's a biolock, he said. A human one. Which means this part of the ship was meant to be accessed by someone with human blood. Lorv shook his head. That's impossible. There are no humans left. Maybe not alive, Vrak said. But maybe something remains inside this ship. Suddenly, a small compartment opened near the lock. Inside was a silver needle, and below it an empty pod labeled Gene Memory Unit. Toril stepped forward, almost pulled by some invisible force. No, Vrak shouted. We don't know what that does. But Toril didn't stop. He pressed his hand into the pod, and the needle shot into his skin. He cried out, but didn't pull away. Then the door clicked. Everyone stepped back as the massive core chamber opened. The air inside was heavy, like stepping into deep water. In the center was a giant sphere, pulsing with red energy. Around it floated hundreds of tiny drones, each one scanning, blinking, waiting. Above it all, a floating hologram flickered to life. A human face, female, with glowing eyes, looked down at them. She did not smile, she only spoke. Her voice calm and cruel. Core unlocked, but identity invalid. Foreign presence detected. Final protocol. Prejudgment active. Back out. Vrak shouted, but the door behind them closed. The hologram turned toward him. You do not belong here, she said. But you touched our blood. Suddenly, the sphere lit up, and one of the drones flew toward them. Before they could react, it injected a beam of light into Lorv's chest. He screamed, but then something happened. Images poured into his mind. Visions of Earth, of burning skies, of humans building this ship from pain and hope. He saw a child place a flower on the deck. He saw soldiers crying in silence before battle. He saw the cost of this warship, millions of lives traded for survival. Lorv fell to the floor, unconscious. Toril crawled to him, crying, They're not trying to kill us. They're showing us. They want us to understand. Vrak looked back at the sphere. It pulsed brighter now, as if listening. He stepped forward and shouted, We are not enemies. We came to explore, not to fight. But the hologram didn't blink. It only said, Your kind has lied before. History remembers. Then the ceiling opened, revealing hundreds of canisters. Inside each one, frozen bodies of long-dead humans, still dressed in armor, still clutching weapons. Lorv whispered, They preserved them, for memory, for vengeance. Toril turned to Vrak, his face pale. This ship was never made for survival, he said. It was made to be a judge, to remember what humans suffered, and to punish anyone who repeats it. Suddenly, the lights turned white, the sphere stopped pulsing, and the drones returned to formation. A voice echoed one last time. Next phase begins. Before anyone could speak, the ship changed direction, without engines, without sound. It started moving toward something. Vrak stared at the map on his wrist display. The ship was heading into deep space. But not just anywhere. It was going toward the heart of Zelther territory, and it wasn't going alone. Asterisk. The silent warship moved without engines. There was no sound, no tremble, no force pressing against the floor. Yet the stars outside shifted, drifting faster. The ship was accelerating quietly, perfectly toward Zelther space, and the crew had no control. They were passengers now, or prisoners. Inside the core chamber, the red sphere dimmed, replaced by a new light, white, calm, but cold. Above it, the human hologram floated once more, her eyes glowing brighter. She no longer looked like a person. She looked like judgment given a face. "The trial begins," she whispered. "The verdict is near." Vrak slammed his hand against the control panel. "Shut it down," he shouted. "Override everything." The engineers scrambled to obey, but nothing worked. The ship rejected their access, even when they tried to cut power lines. The tools melted in their hands. One panel even hissed at them, as if alive. Like it was mocking their weakness. Toril stepped back from the central sphere. "I think it's using our presence to justify its return," he said. "We triggered its memory, and now it thinks. It has a mission." Lorv, still pale and weak, looked up. "It's going back," he said slowly, "to finish something." The ship was waking piece by piece. Turrets hidden beneath its hull began to slide into position, giant barrels of rail. Cannons unfolded from the sides. The power levels spiked to levels not seen in centuries. And inside, a row of drones began assembling. Each drone shaped like a small human soldier, but faster, smarter. Built for one purpose, war. Captain Vrak ran to the front of the command chamber. "Where is it going exactly?" he barked. A display lit up, showing star charts, red zones, and blinking targets. One star system was highlighted: Zelther's military stronghold, High Command's hidden fortress. "By the stars," Lorv whispered. "It's going to attack." "The Empire." Toril turned slowly, his face pale. "No," he said. "It's not attacking. It's returning to deliver justice." On the outer hull, ancient panels opened to reveal massive missile pods. Some missiles glowed blue, others pulsed with green energy. Each one marked with old human writing, words like memory, revenge, and never again. The aliens had never seen weapons like this, not even in the Galactic Wars. Suddenly, a loud tone echoed through the halls. It vibrated in their bones, deep and low, a call, not just sound, but a signal across the galaxy. Satellites picked it up. Long-dead beacons blinked back to life. The human defense net, thought lost for generations, had just activated. The Zelther Empire received the signal and panicked. Across their systems, alarms rang. An ancient human ship unseen for centuries was approaching at impossible speed. The readings made no sense. Its shields were impenetrable, its weapons unreadable, its drive beyond logic. Commanders screamed, "Prepare defense." But no one knew how. Back on the ship, the crew huddled near the core chamber. Lights above them danced like stars, forming shapes, battles, memories. They watched silently as the ship replayed the fall of Earth. Alien fleets attacking human cities. Children crying in bunkers, and then the creation of this ship, built in the last days, by the last survivors. A final prayer made of steel and wrath. Vrak clenched his fists. "We did not do this," he said. "We are not those enemies." But the ship answered. History does not forget. Justice does not sleep. They felt it then, a deep presence inside the ship, not just code. Or a mind, perhaps more than one. Maybe echoes of humans who gave their lives to build this monster. Their memories woven into metal, their pain programmed into the weapons. The ship dropped out of FTL, near Zelther space. In front of it, a fleet of alien warships waited, dozens of destroyers, cruisers, and battle stations. They opened communication channels. "This is Zelther Command," a voice shouted. "Identify or be destroyed." The silent warship did not answer. Instead, it opened its weapon bays. Cannon arms rotated slowly, locking on targets. Missile pods opened like flowers blooming with death. The Zelther fleet fired first. Beams of energy, torpedoes, disruptor rounds, all launched at once. They hit the silent warship with full power. But nothing happened. Not a scratch, not a flicker. The ship remained still, like a god ignoring insects. Then, it fired back. No one on the Zelther side saw it coming. A single blast, silent and bright, erased half the fleet. Another beam cut through the largest cruiser like paper. Explosions painted the stars red, and through it all, the silent warship did not move faster or slower. It simply delivered judgment inside. Vrak and the others fell to the floor. The ship wasn't killing for sport. It was calculating, deciding, punishing based on memory. It was war, yes, but to the ship, it was also justice. Captain Vrak whispered, "We didn't unleash a weapon. We woke a god." Silence returned, but it wasn't peace. The Zelther fleet was gone. Their strongest warships reduced to glowing wrecks. The space around the silent warship burned, debris spinning in slow circles. But the ship didn't celebrate. It didn't pause. It simply turned toward the next target, another Zelther world. Another place tied to the ancient war. The war the aliens thought was long forgotten. Inside the ship, Captain Vrak stared at the floor. He could still hear the screams. Through the comms, Zelther ships calling for help, begging for mercy. But the ship had shown none. It had judged them guilty and carried out the sentence. Toril sat against the wall, holding a broken screen. His hands trembled. His lips moved without sound. He had seen too much, not just in the ship's visions, but in the mind whispers. The voices in the steel, the thoughts of dead humans still echoing in the ship's systems. Still angry, still watching. Then it happened. A new sound echoed through the command deck. Not a whisper, not a warning. A voice clear, calm, and very human. Female, warm yet cold beneath the surface. "You shouldn't be here," it said. The crew froze, looking around, but no one was speaking. This ship was not meant to wake without its master. Vrak turned slowly. "Who is that?" he demanded. "Show yourself." The lights dimmed, and a hologram appeared. It wasn't the same judgmental figure from before. This one looked younger, clearer. She had short hair, dark eyes, and wore a military jacket with the old Earth insignia. She looked directly at Vrak. "My name is Commander Ellen Ray," she said. "Or at least, the memory of her," Lorv whispered. "Is she real?" Toril shook his head slowly. "She's part of the ship, maybe an imprint from before." Before everything, the hologram stepped closer, hands behind her back. "You triggered the awakening protocol," she said. "Now the mission cannot stop." Vrak clenched his fists. "Stop the ship!" he shouted. "We didn't come to fight. We didn't come to harm." The hologram tilted her head. "That is what they all said," she replied. Before the burning began, she raised her hand, and the screen behind her showed images cities. On Earth, then alien warships raining fire on those cities. Human children screaming as buildings collapsed. "We built the warship to be the last voice of humanity," she said. "A voice that cannot be silenced again." Vrak stepped forward, voice low. "Your war is over. Your enemies are gone. The galaxy has changed." Ellen Ray's eyes glowed faintly. "Has it?" she asked. "Then why are you here, digging into our grave? Why does your empire still expand, still conquer, still silence others?" The truth stung. The Zelther Empire had taken many worlds. They wore the mask of peace, but it was built on force. Vrak had told himself it was for order, for safety, but to the ship, it was the same old story in a new voice. Toril stepped forward, his voice calm but strong. "There must be a way to stop this," he said. "A way to prove we're not your enemy." Ellen Ray looked at him closely. Then she said something strange. "There is one test left, one key locked in blood. In memory, one chamber still sealed. A part of the wall opened, revealing a lift. The lights inside blinked gently. "Waiting, one of you may enter," she said. "If you fail, the ship continues. Asterisk, asterisk. If you succeed, it may sleep again." Vrak looked at his crew. Everyone was afraid, even Lorv, who never showed weakness. But then Toril stepped forward. "I'll go," he said. "It's my fault the core opened. I triggered it first." Vrak nodded slowly. "You don't have to do this," he said. Toril smiled. Weakly, "I know," he replied, "but someone has to try." He stepped into the lift, and the doors closed. The ship hummed deeply, as if holding its breath. Ellen Ray's hologram vanished, and the crew was left in silence once more. The silent warship began to slow, drifting in place near a dead moon. It was waiting for one man, one trial, one answer. Inside the lift, Toril felt weightless. He didn't know how deep the ship went. He passed decks never shown on the map, strange shapes behind sealed glass, chambers filled with statues, machines and frozen human bodies, until finally, the lift stopped and the door opened. He stepped into a chamber lit by a soft white glow. In the center, above it, a screen showing a single question. "Would you forgive them?" Toril stared at the words, confused. A voice whispered again, not Ellen's, but a child's. "They hurt us. Would you forgive them?" Toril closed his eyes. He saw Earth's ashes, saw his empire's chains. But he also saw something else, hope. A galaxy that could still change. A future that didn't need to repeat the past. He whispered, "Yes." Asterisk, the word yes echoed through the sealed chamber. It was soft, gentle, yet powerful, as if the ship had waited centuries to hear it. Toril stood alone in the white-lit room. His voice was the only human answer this ship had received in hundreds of years. The question had been simple, but the meaning was deep. Would you forgive them? The chair before him folded away. The question on the screen disappeared. In its place came a new message, glowing in gold letters. "Forgiveness acknowledged. But judgment is not yours alone." Toril blinked, confused. "What does that mean?" He asked aloud. Then he heard them, 100 voices speaking at once. Male and female, old and young, human and something more. They whispered in unison, like wind flowing through a dying forest. The fleet must know. Suddenly, above the ship, in a corner of forgotten space, another light appeared, then another, and another. Dozens of them, blinking into existence, long black ships shaped like swords, silent and unregistered. Human ships ancient and unmarked, their hulls carried no flags, no names, only scars. Ships that were thought lost in the final war. The Ghost Fleet on every nearby channel. A signal burst out. It wasn't speech. It was a frequency only older machines could understand. It reached deep into forgotten systems across the galaxy. Old Earth tech came back online. Buried satellites blinked awake. Outposts that had not seen power in 500 years turned toward the stars. Something was coming, back inside the silent warship. Captain Vrak and his crew saw the incoming ships on the display. At first, they thought it was an enemy response. But the ships did not attack. They formed a circle around the silent warship like guardians returning home, Lorv gasped. "They're not pointing weapons at us. They're protecting it." Ellen Ray's hologram reappeared on the bridge. Her eyes brighter now, her voice less cold. "The final fleet," she said, "created in secret, spread across the stars, hidden from the enemy, hidden even from Earth's allies." Vrak stepped forward slowly. They were waiting for this ship to wake up. He said. She nodded. And for someone to answer the question. In the deep chamber, Toril watched. A wall open, revealing a crystal console. Inside it floated a single human hand, preserved perfectly, connected to wires and light. The hand moved, fingers twitching. It touched the console from within and sent a signal. The ship vibrated softly. And Toril heard the whispers again. Final key accepted. Command bridge override initiated. Above the ship, the Ghost Fleet began to move. They opened their engines, pointed outward, and created a giant field of light. A shield so strong it bent the stars. Then one by one, the ships released. Drones, not for war, but for repair, they flew to the silent warship. Fixing old panels, connecting new links. The warship was not just waking, it was healing. Vrak turned to Ellen Ray. "What now?" he asked. "You saw our answer. You saw we want peace." Ellen paused, then nodded slowly. "The message has been heard, but not all enemies are gone." Suddenly, a new alarm rang. The screen showed a Zelther fleet larger than before. Hundreds of ships, battleships, carriers, destroyers, all heading toward them at full speed. High Command had received the first attack report. Now they were sending everything, Lorv growled. "They think we're in control of this ship." Vrak clenched his jaw. "They'll try to destroy it before it gets close to another world." Ellen's voice remained calm. "They will fail," she said, asterisk asterisk. "But blood will spill." Toral's voice crackled over the coms. "I passed the test," he said. "But that only opened a new one. I think the ship wants them to make the next choice." The silent warship pulsed with power, brighter than before. Its weapons were ready again, but they didn't fire. The Ghost Fleet did not move either. They held their shield, waiting for something different this time. A sign of peace, or another act of war, on the Zelther flagship. Admiral Krass looked at the old warship on his screen. He saw the human ships, the glowing drones, the restored panels. He remembered the stories his father told him, stories of old Earth's fall, and he whispered, "So it's true." They left something behind. A message flashed on his console, one word from the silent warship. "Remember." The Admiral hesitated. His hands hovered over the launch command. Then he stood down. He ordered his fleet to stop, to hold position. Gasps filled the bridge, but no one questioned it. The warship did not fire. The Ghost Fleet did not move, and in that silence, peace had a chance. Back on the bridge, Vrak smiled for the first time. "Maybe the ship will rest now," he said. Ellen Ray nodded slowly. "It sleeps only when the galaxy remembers." The war did not come that day. For the first time in centuries, a human warship faced down an alien fleet, and no one fired. The Ghost Fleet hovered like shadows, unmoving but powerful, and the silent warship, ancient and alive, rested between. Stars once soaked in blood. It had judged the galaxy, burned the guilty, tested the survivors, but now it waited for something even greater than war. Memory inside the ship, the lights dimmed to a soft white. The red glow that once filled every hallway faded. The sound of metal groaning, of weapons charging, of the ship whispering its pain, all went silent. Captain Vrak stood near the bridge window, looking out at the Zelther fleet holding position. He didn't feel like a soldier anymore. He felt like a student, a witness to something older than fear, deeper than hatred. Toral stepped onto the bridge, his face tired but clear. "I think it's over," he said softly. Vrak nodded. "Because you passed the test." Toral shook his head. "No," he said. "Because we listened." Ellen Ray appeared once more, her hologram more real than ever. She looked at the crew, these aliens from the Empire that once brought ruin. And she didn't speak with anger anymore. Her voice was gentle, almost proud. The ship was not only a weapon, she said. It was a monument, a place built not just to destroy, but to teach, Lorv asked quietly. "Then why did it kill so many of us?" Ellen's eyes dimmed a little. "Because no one listens to a whisper," she said, asterisk asterisk, "until it screams." The Ghost Fleet began to shift positions. Some ships powered down, others turned toward unknown corners of the galaxy. Their job was done. They had answered the call of the silent warship just once. Now they returned to sleep, to wait again until another generation needed reminding. Across the galaxy, reports spread like fire. A human ship, thought to be legend, had destroyed an armada. Then it stopped. It didn't claim territory, didn't demand tribute, didn't speak a single threat. It simply floated near the edge of Zelther space. A warning and a memory. World leaders, historians, warlords and scholars all spoke of it. Some called it a ghost, others called it a god. But those who knew the truth understood. It was the voice of a broken people who swore the galaxy would never forget them. On the silent worship, Ellen Ray turned to Vrak. "You will return to your world," she said, "and you will carry our story. Tell them not just about our pain, but about our choice." Vrak nodded slowly. He had come here expecting treasure, technology, power, but what he found was weight, a responsibility too big to measure, and a story that would outlive him. Toril asked quietly, "What will happen to the ship now?" Ellen looked upward, as if seeing beyond the hull. "It will remain," she said. "Silent again, but never forgotten. It will watch and wait, in case the stars forget what we paid to build it." The Zelther fleet opened a channel peacefully. Vrak stepped forward, spoke calmly. He told them what they saw, what they learned, what they almost lost. He didn't speak of shame, he spoke of honor. Because admitting your past is not weakness, it is strength. The silent worship powered down, its lights soft and steady, its engines stopped, its weapons hidden once more. But the galaxy had already changed. New records were written, new laws passed, new hearts opened. And children across 100 worlds would now grow up knowing the name of the ship that did not forget. A ship not of revenge, but of judgment, memory, and choice. Years later, historians would ask, why didn't it keep fighting? Why didn't it take the galaxy by force? But those who were there knew the answer. It didn't need to. The galaxy had already been judged, and what followed was its chance to heal. On a quiet moon, a statue was built. Not of a soldier, not of a leader, but of a girl in a coat, hands behind her back, eyes looking at the stars. Beneath it, a plaque. To those who remembered when the stars forgot. The weapon was never our strength, it was our story. And the silent worship drifted into darkness once again, waiting for the next voice, the next whisper, the next time the galaxy would need to remember.